What's up, everybody? My name's Big and welcome back to another episode of Comically Boston Podcast. And today's another Monday, so we are back with the weekly nerdy news, and it was a pretty big week and some big news for Netflix and Warner Brothers. You know, we'll talk about that and Netflix acquiring Warner Brothers, and that will be like the topic towards the end of today's show and all the details we have from that. And then we'll also be talking some, the future of streaming for those Netflix and Warner Brothers and HBO and Paramount and all those platforms and what that's going to be like going forward. But we're also going to talk DC Studios, Supergirl, the Batman Part 2. We're also going to talk about Avengers Doomsday briefly and a couple other pieces of news. But let's not waste any more time, y'all. Let's jump right on into it. Of course, coming up in January, we have A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, a new Game of Thrones tale, and starring the Knight Duncan the Tall and his squire Egg. And I believe Egg is a Targaryen, but we'll get more into that show in January and start seeing what that show has to offer. But a new poster here, and I believe a final trailer came out. I don't think I'm going to do the trailer reaction for that final trailer just because I think the initial trailer for that show is much better. So yeah, go check out the trailer breakdown on the channel currently for A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms if you're interested in some Game of Thrones stuff. But another TV show I'm interested in is a Amazon Prime show called Spider Noir. Not Spider-Man Noir, just Spider Noir. And that, of course, was the character Spider-Man Noir voiced by Nicolas Cage in the Into the Spider-Verse movie. But that character was Peter B. Parker, I believe, or some type of version of Peter Parker, and it looks like he's going to be playing Ben Reilly, private investigator, Spider Noir, Nicolas Cage, so that show looks like it's going to be interesting, and that's going to be out at some point next year, I believe, on Amazon Prime, so stay tuned for that. We're definitely going to be breaking down that show. I love a good noir vibe as is, so a Spider-Man noir show for Amazon starring Nicolas Cage. Whether it's good or bad, I'm definitely going to check it out. The last and final season of The Boys is coming in 2026 as well. I believe it starts in like April or something like that. And I believe it ends in May. I could be wrong, but it doesn't have any release dates on these posters here. But one of the posters has Billy the Butcher, and he's in front of like a big old Vought tower or ship or something like that. I don't really remember how season 4 ended, so I'm gonna have to do a The Boys rewatch when I go into this final season for sure. And if I do that, would you guys like to see, season breakdowns or episode breakdowns for that? Comment below if that's something you'd like to see. But there's this other The Boys final season poster, final season coming soon, and I'm sure there will be a trailer for this out soon as well, or maybe it came out over the weekend. If it did, somebody send me the link to that on Twitter or something. But you can see this poster, Homelander up above Earth, and Earth looks like it's in a war zone and everything's exploding all over the place, and he's just up there just waiting for some milk and just like looking down like, oh boy, what's going on here? Yeah, like, or he probably caused all this. Like, I'm sure that last season's gonna be absolutely insane. Now, a movie I didn't see, but it has a sequel, Five Nights at Freddy's 2, is now streaming, I believe, or now in theaters for those people that are Five Nights at Freddy's fans. And the Rotten Tomatoes score for this sequel film is 14% critic score with 44 reviews. So, yikes. Definitely trying to capitalize on the magic of that first film, huh? And they were just like making this movie, and maybe the fans will enjoy it, but the critics really did not. And this is a PG-13, hour 44-minute movie, so I would have pictured this to be more rated R. I don't know if the first one was rated R or not, but I know the games are like these horror, creepy games, so, maybe they have to be PG-13 because there's like kids that play these games, but at the same time, if you're gonna lean in to make a Blumhouse horror film like this, lean in, make it rated R, why not? Like, that's the audience that's gonna go to the theaters anyways, I think, more so than kids. Now, a movie I know people are definitely waiting for after the success of Peaky Blinders on Netflix. I've actually never fully seen Peaky Blinders, but I saw a lot of it when my mom was watching it in the living room, and then I was on vacation with my grandparents down in Florida a few years back during COVID. I was there for like 3 weeks, and during that 3 weeks my papa was watching Peaky Blinders. So I've seen a lot of the show, but all out of context, so I don't know what's happening. But I know all about Tommy Shelby and how badass friggin' Cillian Murphy is. But that is a show that I definitely need to sit down and give it the time and watch it all the way through, because Peaky Blinders, the Immortal Man movie is coming. So I don't know if this is going to be, you know, a prequel movie, because, you know, spoilers for the show, even though I haven't seen it, so I'm spoiling it for myself. I believe Tommy Shelby dies in the last episode of Peaky Blinders. So, to me, the Immortal Man, maybe this is a sequel to Peaky Blinders, and somehow Tommy Shelby's still alive, and that's why he's the Immortal Man. Or, you know, maybe Peaky Blinders and Cillian Murphy and Tommy Shelby was just such a legendary character that they were like, fuck it, we gotta bring him back, make a movie, the Immortal Tommy Shelby, that's the man, you know. And this will be in select theaters March 6th and streaming on Netflix March 20th. Unfortunately, if it's anything like Frankenstein, it wasn't playing on any theaters near me here in Massachusetts, but I'm definitely going to be watching it when it comes out in March on Netflix. So I have a few months to go ahead and watch Peaky Blinders on Netflix, probably streaming now. Now, normally on my Mondays, I record this podcast and then I do a couple of movie reviews, and then I spend most of the day editing those videos. But because the movie reviews I would normally have watched over the weekend, I wasn't able to. I was watching the James Bond movies. If you guys have been watching the channel and keeping up with the movie reviews, I had been chugging away and almost all the way through the Sean Connery James Bond films. And then for some reason Amazon Prime took them off Prime. Like, they had every one of the films on Prime to watch, and now all of a sudden they're not on there, and you have to subscribe to MGM Plus to watch some of them or just rent the other ones. So I was like, what the hell? I was like, I thought Amazon owned these movies. Why are they not streaming on this platform? It just pissed me off. And so I went to my local comic book shop and was able to buy the DVD collections of not only the Sean Connery movies for James Bond, but for the Roger Moore ones as well. So now I have the DVD for the Bonds. So I will be continuing on my James Bond rewatch and movie, you know, reviews very shortly. Probably this Friday will be the next James Bond review. But there was also, you know, a little bit of reports that CALUM Turner is the front runner for James Bond, for Denis Villeneuve's newest Bond, you know. So I had heard, you know, Tom Holland, I had heard Jacob Elordi, I had heard Harris Dickinson. Out of those three, and now including CALUM Turner, I think I like Jacob Elordi's height the most. I like Tom Holland's acrobatics the most, and I think CALUM Turner's look is the best, but maybe Harris Dickinson's acting in like depths has them. I don't know. Maybe he's more of a lady killer because the only thing I've really seen him in was Baby Girl. So like maybe that's where I'm seeing his, like, you know, ladies man like Bond normally is. But I don't know. There's one other person that somebody threw out there, Gary Oldman threw out there, and that was Charlie Hunnam for Bond. So out of those five, who would you want to play the next James Bond? I mean, for me, my James Bond is still going to be Daniel Craig for the moment, as much as I love Sean Connery and Pierce Brosnan. When I think of Bond, I still think of my generation's Bond, which was Daniel freaking Craig. But now Daniel Craig's off being Benoit Blanc, the detective. So, you know, he's slowly becoming the detective in my mind rather than Bond. And now I'm starting to see Sean Connery as Bond in my head. But I don't know, CALUM Turner, he's a great actor, he's got a great look, he's in that new movie Eternity with Lizzie Olsen and Miles Teller. He would probably make a good Bond, but he's also dating Dua Lipa, so you can't have both, right? Same with Tom Holland, you can't be Spider-Man, dating Zendaya, and be Bond. Like, that's too much, you just, that's too much. Like, save some pussy for the rest of us, Tom Holland, come on. The next thing I want to talk about is the 23rd season of Variety's Actors on Actors and the pairings that they put together. And already came out, I believe, was Ariana Grande and Adam Sandler, as well as Julia Roberts and Sean Penn. I don't know about you guys, but I love watching these actors on actors or directors on directors and just hear some of your favorite actors chop it up about, you know, whatever movies they're doing, you know, about the business, about liking each other's work, about asking each other, you know, advice. You know, some of them are up and coming, some of them are highly veterans, have been in the business a long time, you know, so some of them are meeting for the first time, some of them are longtime friends, you know, like, I think Ariana Grande and Adam Sandler's character was more of like this, you know, friends, but also like, you know, Adam Sandler's older, so he's kind of looking at Ariana like he's talking to one of his daughters, so that was a sweet interview. Julia Roberts and Sean Penn have been friends for 40 years, so that was like an old-timey friends, like getting together and chopping it up about the business. They've both made so many films. And then there's like, you know, relative newcomers, Jonathan Bailey and David Cornsweet, that just came out the other day as well, and that was a great interview, and they were highly adorable talking to each other and then afterwards singing together. I think Jonathan Bailey and David Cornsweet would be like a great duo in a movie or even like a play in Broadway or theater or something, and they were really cracking me up in their interview. And yet to come out, we still have Dwayne Johnson, Brendan Fraser, Stellan Skarsgård, and Alexander Skarsgård, so that's father-son. Jennifer Lawrence and Leonardo DiCaprio, that's a pretty big one. Gwyneth Paltrow, Jacob Elordi, interesting. Cynthia Erivo and Hugh Jackman, oh, I'm definitely watching that one. Sydney Sweeney, Ethan Hawke, that's probably going to be a good one. Michael B. Jordan, Jesse Plemons, that's definitely going to be a good one. I love me some Jesse Plemons. Kate Hudson, Jeremy Allen White. Oscar Isaac, Tiana Taylor, that's probably going to be a funny one. And Colin Farrell and Jesse Buckley, that's definitely going to be interesting as well. And, you know, all of those actors I just named are all doing crazy movies this year and all been doing great stuff. But probably the most interesting one to me would be Dwayne Johnson, Brendan Fraser, you know, coming off of The Smashing Machine, and Brendan Fraser coming off of The Whale and Rental Family and heading into The Mummy 4, you know, like, I definitely want to hear some of these conversations. But comment below, you know, like, I love YouTube, and if you're watching this, well, maybe you love YouTube as well. So, like, I love watching these interviews. I love watching Fallon and Kimmel, and just not even for them, for the interviews, and just hearing my favorite actors or directors talk about the projects they're making and behind the scenes, and just getting to know them a little bit better too, you know, like the people behind the characters in your shows I find so much more interesting than the characters themselves, you know, like say I'm interested in a character and then the actor's really cool as well, then that like character becomes a favorite, but then the actor becomes a favorite, and I start following them to see what other work they're doing, you know what I mean? Speaking of actors though, poor Paul Dano, Jesus Christ, if you guys saw this last week, Paul Dano caught some wild stray shots from freaking Quentin Tarantino. I don't know where Quentin Tarantino was, but he was just like on some podcast or something and talking about actors and talking about his favorite movies, and he said something like There Will Be Blood is a perfect film and like should be the best film ever, you know, made, and the only downside is that Paul Dano is the worst, softest fucking actor he's ever seen, and called him the worst fucking actor in SAG. And I was like, God damn, just ripping Paul Dano apart, like fucking hell. And then my response was interesting. I wonder if he's seen Paul Dano's work as the Riddler in the Batman, because I haven't seen a whole lot of Paul Dano outside of that, but as the Riddler, he was like, you know, not necessarily Jim Carrey's Riddler, but as a more serious Zodiac level psychopath Riddler, the Batman was a phenomenal role for Paul Dano. And, you know, it's funny because, like, the Batman 2 writer and Simu Liu and more other actors share praise for Paul Dano after, you know, Tarantino's ripping him apart for no reason. And it's just like, fuck. And, like, I think Matthew Lillard caught a stray from Tarantino as well. He's just like, I'm just uninterested in him. And apparently it all stems back from Paul Dano turning down to Quentin Tarantino to do a role because there was some weird-ass foot scenes in it, because notoriously Quentin Tarantino has a foot fetish, but I always thought it was for female feet like Selma Hayek. But apparently he's an equal foot opportunist because he wanted Paul Dano to do some weird feet shit, and because Paul Dano turned him down, now Quentin Tarantino thinks he's the worst fucking actor ever. Petty stuff, Quentin Tarantino, petty stuff for a man that's only made 10 films, you know? And thinks he's the best to ever do it, you know? Like, as much as I love Quentin Tarantino, he is a cocky motherfucker. He really is. And, like, You know, for some of the films he made, he can be cocky. But there's also, you know, a thing called being humble and not an asshole. And just to start shitting on people for no reason on your pod, I mean, like, I'm sure I do it, but I'm small. I don't think anyone's ever watching my shit. So if somebody does, I'm like, ooh, my bad, you know? Like, Quentin Tarantino's got no, ooh, my bad in him. You know what I mean? Like, he says shit and then he stands on it. Nope, fuck him, fuck you. I'm Quentin, fuck you. You know, and hey, I wish I loved myself that much. Like I was talking though about actors in interviews and like the stuff I'm interested in, I am very interested in the award season, and I love watching the award season and seeing, you know, my favorite actors win awards for the best movies of the year, and then hearing what they have to say in their award speeches. Sometimes they're touching, sometimes they're embarrassing, sometimes they're funny, you know, like, and you know, most of the time I'm just trying to see if like the movies I liked most in the year are also the movies that the critics and everyone else in the industry liked the most in the year. It rarely is the one, you know, like last year I thought for sure Dune Part 2 should have won, and it didn't, you know, and I'm like, fuck you guys, Dune Part 2 is fucking incredible, you know, like definitely the best movie of the year last year. But this year, for me, my best film winner is definitely Sinners, but I haven't seen One Battle After Another, and apparently that is a stellar film. And, you know, I think Sinners had 6 Golden Globe nominations, and this One Battle After Another has 9 nominations, with Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor for Leonardo DiCaprio, Best Actress for Chase Infinity, Best Supporting Actress Tiana Taylor, Best Supporting Actor Benicio del Toro and Sean Penn, Best Screenplay, and Best Original Score. So out of the 2 best movies of the year, for me, you know, I'm still need to see One Battle After Another, but I'm sure Paul Thomas Anderson is the director. I'm sure I'm going to really like this movie. I have just yet to see it yet this year, but it is interesting that 2 of the best, you know, rated films of the year, One Battle After Another and Sinners, are both original takes. They're not from big IPs, they're not Marvel, they're not, you know, something huge that somebody already knows. It's original stuff, great movies that are bringing people out to the theaters and hopefully winning awards for it. But I heard Leonardo DiCaprio is hilarious in One Battle After Another, and just for that whistle, if you guys know, you know, I'm going to go see that scene. Probably this week I'll rent it and check that out. Now, something else coming up very soon is the Avatar Fire and Ash film should be in theaters, I think December 19th or something like that, so coming up in a couple weeks, and I will definitely be seeing that in theaters. I'm a big Avatar 1 and 2 guy, and particularly 1. For most of my life, I loved 1, and then just a couple years ago, they dropped Avatar 2, and I never thought in a million years we'd actually get a sequel to it. Even though they said they were gonna, I never thought it would actually come. It had been a decade, and then all of a sudden, Avatar 2 drops, and now here's Avatar 3 coming down the pipeline with apparently a 4 and 5 coming in the future as well. So like, I'm excited for Avatar. But at the beginning of Avatar, there are going to be some trailers that are dropped like in the lead up to it, and I think Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, with this new movie poster with like the Trojan horse in the background, The Odyssey, and a little bit of, you know, Matt Damon's Odysseus on the front there. And I believe this is a fan-made poster, but who knows at this point. It could be AI, it could be real. Who the fuck knows? Who cares? The Odyssey. If there is an actual trailer playing for this before Avatar Fire and Ash, I would love to see it, you know, but you know, will they release it online afterwards? Maybe not, especially for the Odyssey, but some of the other ones, I think there's supposed to be a trailer for Supergirl before Fire and Ash, maybe Avengers Doomsday, maybe Spider-Man Brand New Day, maybe some other stuff, you know, like there is some big movies, maybe Mandalorian and Grogu, you know, so like there's some big movies coming up in 2026 that are going to have trailers released very, very soon. So stay tuned, because as soon as those trailers drop, I know the internet's going to blow up, and hopefully I'll be able to do some trailer reactions for those on the channel. And I'm very excited for stuff coming in 2026. I can't wait. And The Odyssey is at the top of that list for stuff I'm most anticipating for 2026. But another one of my most anticipated movies of 2026 would be Avengers Doomsday. And I think this was from CCXP down in Brazil. And they had this little presentation on stage with Doomsday. And then they had like pictures of the actors. I don't think anyone was actually there, but they had pictures of the actors, you know, with the Fantastic Four up there. And then it looks like Thor, Ant-Man. Some of these pictures are like stock headshots from them. And, you know, some of the X-Men are in there. Sebastian Stan, Bucky, Tom Hiddleston, Captain America's in there, Shuri, M'Baku, Namor, Falcon, Simu Liu, the Thunderbolts, some of the original X-Men are over there, the Russo brothers, of course, you know, like Ian McKellen, you know, like just a crazy list of people here that are all going to be in this movie. And, you know, I don't think any crazy confirmations that we didn't know or anything like that, but just interesting that they're down in Brazil and stuff coming out down there. If there's any other information from CCXP that I missed that was big, please send that my way for sure. It was a crazy week with the Netflix stuff, so I started, you know, focusing on trying to get the information for the Netflix stuff, which will be coming up towards the end here. But interestingly enough, with Avengers Doomsday coming out in December, they announced that Avengers Endgame will be re-releasing in theaters on September 25th, 2026. So now I'm wondering, is Spider-Man Brand New Day not tied to Avengers Doomsday really at all, and Avengers Doomsday is more of a sequel to Avengers Endgame? And if that's the case, are we going to pick up Avengers Doomsday right where Avengers Endgame ended, with Cap taking back those stones and he's dancing with Peggy? Is that where this movie picks up, but instead of it picking up with them dancing in a happy ending, it picks up with Dr. Doom going, "You fucked up the timelines, we need to fix it." You know, like that type of bullshit? I don't know. But in September 25th of 2026, Endgame will re-release in theaters ahead of the December 18th of 2026 Avengers Doomsday release. You know, and that's confirmed by THR. So it's like, interesting. And then somebody else had thrown out there, you know, what if they add a post-credit scene, you know, the same type of way where Thunderbolts had that post-credit scene that the Russo brothers filmed on the set of Doomsday, but they made it a post-credit scene for Thunderbolts. Now I'm curious, is Avengers Endgame now, where notoriously it was 3 hours long and it didn't have a post-credit scene, maybe the Russo brothers will tack on a post-credit scene to Avengers Endgame setting up Avengers Doomsday. That would be interesting, and also give people an extra reason to go see Avengers Doomsday in theaters. You know, like, I'm sure I would go and see Avengers Endgame again in theaters, but if it's playing at home at the exact same time, you know, why am I going to spend money to go see it when I can just rewatch it at home? You know, obviously it's not on the big screen. In that original watching of Endgame back in, what, 2019 was insane to have in front of an audience, but this isn't the first watch, right? So this is a rewatch. So if you want people to go to the theaters to rewatch Avengers Endgame, maybe Marvel put that post-credit scene teasing Avengers Doomsday at the end, makes people come to the theaters and need to stay the whole time so that they can see the post-credit scene. And then, you know, you also make more money for Endgame, making that probably another a couple $1 million, and then Avengers Doomsday a couple months later, you'll have that hype, you know? So I think it's not that the worst idea, but comment below your thoughts. Are you going to go see Avengers Endgame in theaters again? But switching up over into some DC stuff, James Gunn released the Supergirl logo, and this is pretty much just the Superman symbol, but with Supergirl written over top of it. And the little teaser, maybe a teaser of the teaser trailer, because I think this is a teaser for the teaser trailer. Or this little clip is a teaser trailer for the trailer. Either way, there will be the first looks we're going to get from the Supergirl film coming out very soon later this week. But as of right now, the little teaser trailer we have, this is all that James Gunn posted, a little 10-second clip of Supergirl here, Millie Alcock. What? The wait is almost over? Giant spaceship? What is happening, folks? Like, what the fuck? And she's like sitting at a bus stop? Like, what the fuck? And she seems unfazed by this, like, you know, blowing of her hair in this ship landing. But what is that ship? It looks like it's got like at least 2 rocket boosters, and they don't show us a whole lot of it. But yeah, she's at like some bus stop in the middle of some desert, or this could maybe be an entirely different planet. Maybe this is that red planet with a red sun that she can get drunk on, you know? But the wait is almost over for Supergirl's trailer, so stay tuned for that, because we will 100% be reacting to the Supergirl trailer when that comes out. I'm very excited for that movie, and that's going to be dropping, I believe, like July, same time Superman dropped, but coming up in 2026. But jumping into some of the Batman Part 2 news, some very interesting stuff, and a confirmed report last week that Scarlett Johansson is in talks to play a pretty big role in the Batman Part 2. And I don't know if it's 100% confirmed, or if they like release those posts that she's in negotiations so that like she can maybe get some more money out of them. But, you know, either way, Scarlett Johansson's gonna be in this Robert Pattinson The Batman 2 with Matt Reeves. Very interesting, and her being the redhead she is made people speculate, you know, who her character is going to be playing, but we'll talk about that in just a moment. But also confirmed that Zoe Kravitz has yet to be confirmed to be coming back as Selina Kyle and Catwoman for this Batman Part 2. And she kind of did, you know, ride off into the sunset at the end of the Batman Part 1. But, you know, maybe she's not in the Batman Part 2 because she's not, you know, she left Gotham. But maybe she comes back for the Penguin Season 2. And we'll definitely talk more about the Penguin in a moment as well. But, you know, I really liked her Catwoman, and we only really saw her as like a almost Catwoman. You know, she had like the little mask, but it was more of a ski mask, and it looked like she had little ears, and she kind of had this leather suit going on, but she didn't fully become Catwoman. She was just Selina Kyle, you know what I mean? And I would love to see, you know, Catwoman Selina Kyle, but, you know, we'll see eventually if it comes that she's not in the Batman Part 2, or maybe she will be. But going back to the Scarlett Johansson of it all, initially the offer went to Emma Stone, which, you know, Oscar-winning Emma Stone, what? You know, and apparently she passed on it before they offered it to Scarlett Johansson. So it feels like they were like, hey, this is a big movie where Batman's a big, you know, character. Why don't we go to the 2 biggest redheads in Hollywood right now? And they went to Emma Stone and Scarlett Johansson, and one of the 2 said yes. Like, that's crazy. And I'm sure Emma Stone would have if she's not filming a 5th or 6th film with Yorgos Lanthimos. So she's off doing her own thing. Let her go do that. She's having fun. But the character that this ginger Emma Stone or Scarlett Johansson is going to be playing, you know, she could be playing Vicky Vale, she could be playing a numerous amounts of people. She could not even be a redhead. She could be a blonde, she could be a brunette, you know, she could be wearing a wig, she could be shaved head, who the fuck cares? All I know is that the internet thought for sure, because of the ginger connection, that Scarlett Johansson's character that she will be playing will be Andrea Beaumont from the 1993 animated Batman Mask of the Phantasm feature film that came out. And it's actually a pretty damn good animated Batman film, and I remember watching it and being like, you know, all the way through the movie I was like, I don't know if I've seen this, I don't know if I've seen this. And then the moment that the Phantasm gets unmasked and you see Andrea Beaumont, you know, sorry, spoilers for a over 20-year-old friggin' maybe even over 30-year-old Batman animated film. But, you know, either way, I really liked this film, but her being the Mask of the Phantasm, maybe that's the role for like a Scarlett Johansson. She's like a mob boss's daughter who ends up being a supervillain herself, but also is like dating Bruce Wayne a little bit, so then you get a little bit more of the Robert Pattinson connection, but also the Batman connection. But then the people were online going, we were robbed, because we could have gotten Robert Pattinson and Emma Stone Mask of the Phantasm live action. Like, that probably would have been freaking sick, but it is what it is. You know, I think Matt Reeves still has a good head on his shoulders and knows what he wants for his movie. And just the other day, Matt Reeves confirmed that Eric Messerschmidt from, I believe, David Fincher's The Killer that came out on Netflix last year, that was a beautiful movie and shot very dark but also very well. Also, he did work on The Mindhunter, but he's going to be the new cinematographer for the Batman Part 2. And Matt Reeves was like, this is a true story. Let's go, Eric, you know? And unfortunately, Greg Fraser won't be returning as the cinematographer for the Batman Part 2, which is just so highly unfortunate because he did great work in the Batman Part 1. But I think he's off filming the Dune Part 3 right now, which also definitely needs him for that movie because Dune Part 1 and 2 looked so incredible that Dune Part 3, if that has a new cinematographer, that's going to be just a difference that we don't need. You know, we need that clear vision from Denis, man. And Greg Fraser, you know, I don't know a whole lot of cinematographers by name. Greg Fraser's that good that we know him by name. You know what I mean? Like, what a beast. But, you know, like I said, The Killer was a beautifully shot movie, so hopefully Eric here does a great job, and, you know, seems like Matt Reeves is excited, so yeah, we're gonna go with it. But James Gunn, you know, responding to some fans on Threads, he said, if you want to see something from a filmmaker, consider phrasing it as I, as opposed to we, i.e., I want to see Ambush Bug in the DCU, versus we want to see Ambush Bug in the DCU. I want to see an on-screen Batman with white eyes, versus we want to, etc. Your personal desire is meaningful and has weight, but when you frame your personal desire as a universal one, it rings false and becomes forgettable. Own what you want. Interesting, James Gunn, because I have definitely become a, you know, person that does this, but I'm on like my channel saying we as like the royal we, as in like we as the people, but he's kind of right. Maybe I should start saying this is what I want to see, and like maybe that's what I always meant by the proverbial we, the royal we want this. But yeah, say what you want. Me personally, I don't care if there's a white-eyed Batman or not. I know that the way that he did the white eyes for Mr. Terrific, that looked great, but also felt plausible in the real world, that he had these contacts that made it look white, versus having just like the Wolverine white cover over his eyes. I mean, it works for Deadpool, but I don't know if it really worked for the Wolverine cowl. You know, I'm still waiting on my blue and yellow Wolverine to fully compare them next to my Deadpool figures, but yeah, pretty badass looking figures, man. But with this Warner Brothers, you know, and everything happening over there with the Netflix and everything, it looks like DC Studios, Warner Brothers Discovery, is now going to be a Netflix company. And apparently James Gunn's still going to be in helm with Peter Safran running the DC side of things. I don't think Ted Sarandos, or whatever his name is, or the Netflix CEO, I don't think he's going to take them out of the head of DC, but it would be a real mess if he did. And, you know, as far as like his next film, Superman Man of Tomorrow, James Gunn's still working away on that, and the reports had been that Brainiac is going to be the main villain of that film. And apparently the front runner for the role as Brainiac emerged to be Matt Smith, who I know the best as Daemon Targaryen in House of the Dragon, and maybe as what's his name, Milo in Morbius. But Matt Smith as a frontrunner to play Brainiac in Man of Tomorrow via Daniel RPK. So, I mean, even just this image, I don't know what that little CDCB, that logo is in the top right corner, but they must have made this art, and Matt Smith next to Matt Smith, but as Brainiac. I kind of don't mind that look, you know, and if that's the look for the main villain, and just like the voice of Matt Smith, and still kind of like super proper but low and deep, like, I think that's a very solid casting for Brainiac, actually, you know, and I think that's going to be an incredible movie, and I hope James Gunn gets it done with the swiftness here in 2026 so that we can see the Superman sequel in 2027. But now getting into the Netflix and the Warner Brothers of it all, and the Netflix Warner Brother merger, and like, oh god, it's a mess. But also, you know, just the last of like the DC tie-in to it. The Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos, after, you know, being asked questions, says DC should make more projects like the Penguin. You should think about ways that you can explore all these IP universes beyond that of just making tentpole movies. Examples would be some of the earlier moves from the DC universe for things like the Penguin has turned into great television. And of course, Netflix's Ted Sarandos wants them to make more of the Penguin. It was a cheap show to make. It was incredible. It was highly well rated. People watched it. And it had a tie-in to your big character Batman without having Batman in it. And, you know, like, it was a street-level show. Like, there wasn't a ton of crazy CGI or visual effects in the Penguin. So, of course, they want to make a second season of that. But they didn't set out to make a season of the Penguin initially. They did that because of how well Colin Farrell fit the character and fit the prosthetic makeup in the movie, that they were like, we need to do more with this character. You know, like, you don't need to make more shows like the Penguin. You need to make more good shows. And I hope, because, you know, it's an HBO show for the Penguin, I hope in the same realm, Lanterns is also an HBO show. So I'm hoping, because HBO was willing to take their name and put the money to it, you know what I mean, and like make it their show, HBO really doesn't miss for television. For the most part, they have great shows, you know, and like the shows to watch on Sunday night, you know what I mean, or whenever they're dropping. And for me, as much as I want to see the Penguin season 2, I want them to make good shows, and I want them to stay in their lane as much as possible. I don't want them to be forcing out seasons of a show because, oh, it was popular. Like, there shouldn't be 18 K-pop Demon Hunters. Like, yeah, we get it, it was popular. Stop stuffing it down our fucking throats. Like, people like it, don't stuff it down our throats. You know, let them like it without you thinking, oh, capitalism, let's force it. Like, fuck you guys and your crazy money. Like, it's fucking insane. But so Netflix has won the bidding war to purchase Warner Brothers Discovery. They are now entering exclusive deal talks with Netflix, offering $30 a share and a $5 billion breakup fee. I don't even know what that means. But this sale is not yet finalized, as the US Department of Justice could also interfere due to antitrust concerns. But the Netflix account itself on Twitter announced just the other day that, oh, Netflix is announcing our acquisition of Warner Brothers. Together, we will define the next century of storytelling, creating an extraordinary entertainment offering for audiences everywhere. And like, I don't know, man. I like Netflix more than Paramount winning over Warner Brothers, but I don't know. I feel like they should remain separate. But getting more into it, Netflix teases that Warner Brothers' theatrical release windows will evolve to become shorter. Oh boy. And Ted Sarandos said, my pushback has been mostly in the fact of the long exclusive windows, which we don't really think are that consumer friendly. What is long release window to him? Does he think a 45-day release window is long? That's a month and 15 days, motherfucker. Like, we're talking maybe 6 weeks in theaters. Some of these movies are made over 6 to 8 weeks. Some of them take months to make, and you want to give it 45 days because you think people want to watch stuff at home? Ted Sarandos, you're out of your mind, man. People need to see the films in theaters because that's where films are most impactful. Sure, I love watching movies at home. Is it my place I want to do it the most? No, but we're at home more than we're at the theaters because we don't have endless amounts of money just to keep going to the theaters. Plus, there isn't a movie coming out every single day. So like, the movies that are in theaters at this current moment, I've seen. I saw Zootopia 2. I saw The Running Man. I saw Wicked Part 2. You know, like, I went to the theaters to see those. There's nothing else brand new that came out today, so I can't go to the theaters every single day. But what I can do is watch a movie at home every single day. You know, so I like doing that. But it's not the place where people need to watch movies. They need to go to theaters, right? Like, Frankenstein was a great movie. One of my favorite movies of the year on Netflix. And I was unable to see it in theaters because it just wasn't playing near me. So I had to watch it at home. But think about how much more I would have liked that film if I saw it in theaters. You know what I mean? Like, Oh, man, I mean, he's just scared of this, like, theatrical window, because what if we miss it? And it's like, you're not missing anything, dude. You have $300 billion in the bank for you to be able to buy an entire company. Like, you're fucking not missing out on shit. But Ted Sarandos has made a statement on buying Warner Brothers, and he said, "Our mission has always been to entertain the world by combining Warner Brothers' incredible library of shows and movies, from timeless classics like Casablanca and Citizen Kane to modern favorites like Harry Potter and Friends, with our cultural defining titles like Stranger Things, K-pop Demon Hunters, and Squid Games." Only one of those is cultural defining. I mean, K-pop Demon Hunters after this year will be forgotten about. Squid Game as well, after a few years, will be forgotten about. Harry Potter is maybe timeless, but you threw in Friends on the same level as Harry Potter? Come on, guys. Like, Netflix, you need a better grip on reality. You should have workshopped this statement before you put it out. But he thinks with the catalogs of Warner Brothers and Netflix together that they'll be able to do that, entertaining the world even better. And together we can give audiences more of what they love and help define the next century of storytelling. And it's like, oh, God. The more and more I look into it, the more and more it's like, oh, this is a mess. I don't like this at all. And Ted Sarandos, when asked if Netflix was destroying Hollywood, and he said, "No, we're saving Hollywood. We're in a period of transition. Folks grew up thinking, I want to make movies on a gigantic screen and have strangers watch them and have them play in theaters for 2 months. It's an outdated concept." Okay, Ted. Outdated concept, Ted. Luckily, people like Guillermo del Toro, the great Guillermo del Toro, says there is no substitution for seeing films on a big screen at theaters. Make no mistake, fairy tales and horror stories are parables. They speak of things we cannot name. That's the power of cinema. And I think the beauty of seeing it here is you have a big screen showing big ideas. For people that see them on their phone, it takes 38,000 of those little things to form a screen. And it's like, you know, I see what he's saying. You know, like the little pixels on a phone screen. Like Ted Sarandos had said, well, my son's a film editor. He watched Lawrence of Arabia on his cell phone. That is exactly what the problem is. Just because you can watch it on a screen like this doesn't mean you fucking should. Watching a film on an airplane is disrespectful. The screen is this big and you're like, oh, that's the one and only time I watched it because I had 4 hours flying back from Florida? That is disrespectful. Should you be able to watch movies on planes? Sure. But should that be the one and only time you've seen it? Disrespectful garbage human being. That's who you are. If you're thinking about a movie you've seen on a plane and you've never watched again, fuck you. That's you. Fuck you. But, you know, I can think of countless amounts of movies that I've seen in theaters that it's been years and I still remember the exact, you know, not necessarily the day, but you know what I mean. The memory of going to see that in theaters, who I was with, what we got for candy, what happened in the theater. You know, like Sinners I saw earlier this year, and I can still vividly remember the black lady that stood up at the end and went, "Kill that motherfucker!" And I went, you know, like, she was right. They should have killed that motherfucker. But then there's also people like Elizabeth Warren coming out to say that the Netflix Warner Brothers deal is an anti-monopoly nightmare. And she goes on to say, a Netflix Warner Brothers merger would create one massive media giant with control of close to half of the streaming market, threatening to force Americans into higher subscription prices and fewer choices over what and how they watch, while putting American workers at risk. Under Donald Trump, the antitrust review process has also become a cesspool of political favoritism and corruption, she said. The Justice Department must enforce our nation's anti-monopoly laws fairly and transparently, not use the Warner Brothers deal review to invite influence peddling and bribery. Ooh, so that you know, like, this is a big deal between Netflix and Warner Brothers, but there's so much more behind it. There's political weight. There's Trump. There's, you know, the Ellisons trying to get favor with Trump for Paramount, and then Netflix trying to get it over Paramount, and also having relations with Trump. Like, it's all wild. Like, it's a crazy time to be alive right now. But then also the Directors Guild of America, which is, I think, led by, like, Christopher Nolan, and the Directors Guild of America plans to meet with Netflix to discuss their significant concerns about the streamer's acquisition of Warner Brothers. And exclusively, a group of major industry players has sent an urgent open letter to Congress warning of an economic and institutional meltdown in Hollywood if Netflix succeeds in acquiring Warner Brothers Discovery. The letter was sent via email to members of Congress from both parties on Thursday from an anonymous collective identifying themselves only as concerned feature film producers. So producers are scared, directors are scared, writers are scared. And of course, Warner Brothers Discovery, David Zaslav's like CEO or whatever, he's like celebrating the Netflix acquisition. Today's announcement combines two of the greatest storytelling companies in the world to bring to even more people the entertainment they love to watch the most. By coming together with Netflix, we will ensure people everywhere will continue to enjoy the world's most resonant stories for generations to come. Well, a better statement from Zaslav than Ted Sarandos. But some of the final details for this Netflix Warner Brothers deal. Netflix will get all of Warner Brothers TV, film, studios, and streaming assets. CNN, TNT, and Discovery will not be included, will become separate company. Netflix will keep current Warner Brothers operations in theatrical releases, which I think is the DC Studios side of things. Netflix expects 2 to 3 billion in cost savings per year by Y3, by year 3. Will help Netflix expand US production capabilities. Why is Netflix mostly overseas? Combined libraries of content to lower costs for consumers. That's probably not going to happen. They're going to combine both libraries and then up the prices, because why the fuck wouldn't they? They just spent $82 billion on a company and you think we're not going to get fucked as the people watching? You're out of your fucking mind. This literally only benefits the people, not even the filmmakers, the people making the projects on either of these things. This literally only benefits like Ted Sarandos and David Zaslav and like Trump. You know what I mean? Like, that's who it benefits. The people that are so far up there dealing with billions and billions of dollars and throwing money around and having no concept of what the actual people want. And it's just like, it's a fucking mess. It's really a catastrophe. And like, of course, Paramount is not laying down either, so this could become a whole hostile fighting thing. So Paramount is launching a hostile takeover bid to buy Warner Brothers, and they are going directly to shareholders with a bid valued at $108.4 billion, which is just absolutely insane considering like the last time we had a like big merger like this was the Disney bought 20th Century Fox, and that, you know, went through and people were happy about it, but also it was like pretty crazy. Like, Disney bought Fox for $71.3 billion, and yes, they got, you know, Fox, they got X-Men back, they got Fantastic Four back. We still don't have Spider-Man, unfortunately, because that's with Sony, and I think we don't have Hulk either because he's with Universal. But like, come on, man. Like, though both Marvel needs all their characters back, and the only reason fans like us were happy was because it had to do with Marvel. You know, now this Netflix Warner Brothers, it's this whole thing to do with streaming. Like, Warner Brothers bought 20th Century Fox before Disney Plus existed, if I'm correct, you know, and then shortly after Disney Plus and streaming became a thing. But like, I didn't think I'd miss cable so much, you know, like but it's insane that like 82.7 billion is Netflix's offer, and they want to up it by 20 something million dollars to a 100, or not even million, $20 billion, up to 108.4 billion. Like, Paramount really wants this stuff. And to be perfectly honest with you, like, Paramount's just to think about Paramount's platform for streaming, I don't watch anything on Paramount. There really is rarely any films over there that's actually getting released, and their catalog of stuff is garbage. So like, them with HBO, they're winning because they get HBO Max's and Warner Brothers fucking platform, and like, maybe, you know, the same way Hulu and Disney Plus became one thing, maybe, you know, Paramount and HBO Max become one streaming platform, which would be fine for most of us, you know, with streaming platform, you know, buying the streamers, most of the people that didn't have Paramount, or most of the people that do have Paramount, will now be able to watch more stuff with the HBO stuff. Or, you know, the people with the HBO stuff, they'll either just be like, why is Paramount here? Or they'll just be like, oh cool, this extra Paramount stuff to watch. But I would almost guarantee either way, whether it's Netflix buying Warner Brothers or Paramount buying Warner Brothers, us as consumers are probably going to get screwed when it comes to the streaming prices per month, you know? Like, that's fucking garbage. And of course, there's the friggin' orange meanie. He has to be in it at some point as well. And he says he will be involved in the decision on whether Netflix should buy Warner Brothers. Netflix have a very big market share, and when they have Warner Brothers, that share goes up a lot. I don't know that's gonna be for some economics to tell. I'll be involved in that decision too. So of course, even the quote from Trump doesn't make any sense because he can barely speak English, but you know, it's just a mess. And of course, Ted Sarandos met with Donald Trump in November to discuss the Netflix Warner Brothers merger, and Sarandos left with the impression that Netflix wouldn't face regulatory pushback. Trump thinks the highest bidder should acquire Warner Brothers. Paramount bid lower because they thought they had political advantage. So they must have came in with a bid and been like, oh yeah, Trump said we're going to get it, so we're going to get it. And they all started celebrating. And then Netflix came in like, yeah, we're going to offer this much money, and offered just slightly more. And it looked like they took it, but now Paramount's all pissed. They're probably calling Trump, we'll pay more. Well, why didn't you put that bid up in the first place? We'll put up more now, you know? So like, it's absolutely insane, man. And like, I hear it from all perspectives. I hear it from, you know, their side of things as the David Zaslav and Ted Sarandos. Of course, you know, they're fine by themselves. Like, let Paramount be Paramount. Let Warner Brothers be Warner Brothers. Let Netflix be Netflix. But if the merger's gonna happen anyways, we have no say in it regardless. I think I would rather it be Netflix and Warner Brothers, and kind of, you know, because as far as most watched streaming platforms, for me, it's between Disney Plus, Netflix, and Warner Brothers. And mostly it's Disney Plus and Warner Brothers for me, because most of the year I'm spent watching Marvel stuff or DC stuff, and both of those are exclusively on Disney or on HBO Max. In the Netflix, I find myself not using a lot, but at the current moment, using a ton because I'm watching Stranger Things and catching up on that. And they do have some new movies that drop, but they also have weird stuff that comes on their platform at random times. So you can watch, you know, a good amount of stuff on Netflix at any moment. But as far as like Hulu or Prime or Paramount, I think Netflix and HBO Max and Disney Plus have far better streaming platforms than the rest of them. So if you're telling me Netflix and HBO Max are going to be combined and both of their libraries are going to be on one streamer, that's pretty nice. You know, regardless if the price goes up or whatnot, having Netflix and HBO both in one app, that would be kind of a nice destination. And then have Netflix, HBO, and have Disney Plus on one side, and have those two, and then you have the Prime doing its own thing, and then Hulu is kind of just Disney Plus now. I'm sure Hulu will just go away at some point. But, you know, Paramount should be over there doing its own thing, just pretending it's a good streaming service. But like, they're not. I mean, they're a good movie studio. For years, you saw Paramount in front of tons of great movies. But, you know, tell me something Paramount has put out television-wise, like, that compares to any of the HBO shows. Like Paramount's competing with cable television. Like, they're not on the same level as a Stranger Things or as an HBO show. They're just not. So, as much as I would like them to stay separate, and I agree with the writers, the directors, and the SAG, and you know, the actors in the industry the most, being like, listen, this is a bad idea, especially for like the filmmakers. Like, say I made a film and then I had to go sell it to these people. You used to have the options. You used to be able to go to Paramount, you used to go to 20th Century Fox, Disney. You used to be able to walk around to all of the other studios and pitch your product. Maybe they all deny you. Maybe all of them but one denies you. Maybe they all want it, and then it gets a bidding war for your project. You know, like, they used to be able to sell to multiple people. Say there was 6 people. Now, instead of being able to sell to Hulu or Disney, you're just selling to Disney. So that cuts out one. And now if you're going to sell to Netflix and Warner Brothers, now you're selling to just Warner Brothers or Netflix. You know, like, it's cutting out potential opportunities for them to be able to sell their product, and they claim it's going to become, oh, we'll do more, we'll do less. It's going to be less. It's going to be less products. It's going to be less filmmakers. It's going to be less people being able to make good shit and tell stories the way that they're supposed to. And I don't know, you can't limit the market like that. In like Elizabeth Warren was saying, it's a monopoly. Like, there's anti-monopoly laws for a reason. Like, literally Netflix and Disney Plus are playing Monopoly with the world, and we are the pieces. You know what I mean? And like, they're just, oh, well, fucking, well, buy that, that's cool. Throw money at that, that's cool. Well, when you have hundreds of billions of dollars and you just can buy Warner Brothers, like, you're telling me Netflix couldn't have done something better with $80 billion? You know, and apparently they're flush with $300 billion. So even if they spent $80 billion on just acquiring Warner Brothers, that would mean they still have like $220 billion in the bank to make their next Stranger Things or their next movies or whatever. And, you know, Stranger Things is the most expensive show of all time. And that, I think, is why Netflix will end up getting Warner Brothers more than anything. Because apparently Paramount's money has to do with, you know, Saudi Arabian money and money coming from sheiks and stuff overseas. They don't have straight cash, homie, like Netflix does. And if you guys have seen that Randy Moss meme, fucking straight cash, homie, that's what Netflix offered Warner Brothers, and that's why Warner Brothers was like, all right. And for me, as long as in this Warner Brothers buyout, the DC studios remains the same and Peter Safran and James Gunn get to do their thing in DC, that would be amazing. Because I really, you know, it would suck if Ted Sarandos comes in and just blows this all up right after James Gunn just got started, right? Like, we just got the first film, the first shows, you know, like, we're just getting our toes in the sand. We're not even fully dove into the water yet. We just have our toes in the sand. And we're looking for the ocean to come in, and we're going to dive in that wave. And if Ted Sarandos just pulls us out, like, oh, I would be so pissed, you know? Like, I need to see Supergirl. I want to see Superman 2 so bad. I want to see the Batman Part 2, and nothing better jeopardize that. You know what I mean? And like Lanterns and everything that they have going on over there, I hope all of it works out, and hopefully it's not crazy drama months coming, you know? Like, and of course, this is now another big topic, getting people away from Trump talking about the Epstein files and him being a fuck. You know, so like, oh, it's a crazy time in the world. Wow, okay. I'm drained. Like, normally I finish these episodes, I'm like, alright, what were your thoughts? I am drained from talking about this, and it is exhausting to talk about this Netflix Warner Brothers merger. I think I'm gonna go spend the rest of my day editing this and sitting on my ass and watching Stranger Things. Currently, that's what I've been watching. Comment below, what have you recently been watching? And we've been, for dinner, me and my roommate have been, you know, catching up and kind of re-watching Fallout Season 1 so that we're nice and fresh for Fallout Season 2 when that drops in a couple weeks. And for me, I've been watching Netflix's Stranger Things that I'm on. I have never seen it, so I'm not re-watching it. So I am currently on Season 3, Episode 5, and I have really been liking the show so far. It's very good. So if you guys haven't seen this little indie show called Stranger Things, go check it out. Oh wait, you've seen it? It's super famous? Oh, my bad. I've been avoiding interviews from like Noah Schnapp and Millie Bobby Brown on Jimmy Fallon the last couple weeks because of spoilers for the Season 5, which is honestly motivating me to get to the newer episodes faster and faster because I want to see what they were talking about. I want to see what spoilers I missed, you know? And of course I clicked out of the video because I didn't want to get spoiled. I'm liking the show too much to get spoilers, you know what I mean? But yeah. Comment below your thoughts on everything we talked about today. Netflix, Warner Brothers, Paramount. Where would you rather see Warner Brothers end up? Paramount, Netflix? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Scarlett Johansson's character in the Batman Part 2, who is she playing? Is Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman going to be in the film? Would you have rather seen Emma Stone be the character over Scarlett Johansson? Probably not. I mean, it's too early to say for me at this point. But also then there's Avengers Endgame coming back to theaters, so Comment below your thoughts on that. Would you go see Avengers Endgame in theaters again ahead of Avengers Doomsday? And Supergirl's trailer should be dropping very, very soon, so stay tuned for more. And we will be chatting more on this channel about Marvel, DC, and everything to come. Stay tuned for next Monday for another weekly nerdy news, Comically Boston podcast. I'm your host, Big Cam, and if you want to follow my other social medias, links for those down in the description below. Once again, thank you guys so much for making it this far into the video. It really means the world to me if you have made it this far, and if you would like to support the channel, the best way of doing that is liking this video, commenting down in the comment section below, subscribing if you haven't already, and hitting that bell so you don't miss future Comically Boston podcasts, and you get the notifications when those come out. Once again, my name's Big Cam, and I'll see you beautiful people in the next one. Peace!